Welcome to the Stochastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I am here with your old pal, my old pal, EMac. You can find him on Twitter at EMac DFS. We're going to talk about two different slates here. We've got the 4-game early slate, the 10-game later slate that we'll talk about here. This show is, of course, sponsored by Underdog. If you haven't yet signed up for Underdog, highly recommend doing so using our link. I've pinned it in chat. Should also be, if you're watching this after the fact, if you're not in chat, it'll be below the video. If you use our link, you're going to get your first deposit matched up to $100. So you put $50 in, they're going to match that. Then you'll have $100 in your account. You put $100 in, they'll match that. You'll have $200 in your account. On top of that, if you use our link, you also get free access to our best ball and fantasy football package. It's a $40 value. You get access to our CSV Makajeski's rankings, best ball rankings that you can upload directly onto all the best ball sites. Check it out if you haven't already. Fantastic deal there. And of course, if you haven't yet hit the like button, please do hit that like button. Helps us out quite a bit. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Anything else I need to hit on here, Mac? Oh, the avatar, the Hall of Fame, Stochastic Hall of Fame. You go to stochastic.com/avatar. Download that avatar if you want to get into the Hall of Fame. Make it your avatar on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Finish in the top 3 of a contest of 5,000 or more. Tweet it at us, show in your win with the Stochastic avatar. You can win a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Fantastic deal. And of course, you get that shout out from Lofty as well if you make it into the Hall of Fame. EMac, I've let you wait long enough. Haven't allowed you to get a word in yet. This is rare. Me talking so long, EMac not being able to get a word in doesn't happen all that often. How are you doing today, EMac?
I'm doing all right. Wrote the article, did some analysis. Technically, there's 3 slates because there is the 4-game, the 10-game, but it's only 7 games on Yahoo and FanDuel because they cut out the doubleheaders, is my guess, because of Hurricane Hillary is impacting Southern California. They've moved all the Sunday games to today, with the exception of the Oakland game.
Okay, so we have 3 slates. How do you want to break this? I mean, I assume we should just. I was thinking
we'll just go game by game.
Game by game, yeah, and all right. Sounds
we'll catch
good.
Them all.
Yeah,
like Pokemon, we'll catch them all.
Are there any that are on the FanDuel slate that are not on the DraftKings slate? I just have my DraftKings pulled up.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we are just going to go game by game. Give you guys.
Chat will correct us if we somehow miss something.
That is absolutely correct. Chat will correct us. Peter Wysecki says, let's get this money. Agreed. EMac already posted his spotlight pitchers and top stacks in the chat. Don't go read that now, but go click the link, and then you can read it after we're done with this show. Get all the content you want from EMac. EMac is correct. No show without 25 likes. I think we got to 25 likes,
right? We got to 34. We were at 26 when we went live. So good timing.
Absolutely. Any other questions we need to respond to? No, we can just start going game by game. But Stephen Lewis sent us a super chat, says EMac 2024 Appreciation Day. Hit that thumbs up button. Yeah, I've got all the merch for EMac 2024. I got the t-shirt, I got the mug. I don't have them on me. I'm not wearing the t-shirt right now. I want it in V-neck. If we just had that shirt in the V-neck form, EMac, I would wear it all the time. I prefer V-necks to the regular round t-shirts, but we don't have the EMac 2024 shirt in the V-neck.
Sadly. Although I could, I haven't moved yet to Florida, but it'll be like a 2-year process. But I should run as from Florida here because the governor not doing so well in any aspect of life, I guess.
You should. I didn't know that you were moving to Florida, EMac. Absolutely, you should run in Florida.
Yes. Well, we got to get the sports betting legislation thing taken care of down here. Very disappointing.
I mean, I want to vote for EMac for president, but if I have to vote you in as governor first, I guess I can't vote in Florida. But those of you who are in Florida, you should vote for EMac for governor. If he doesn't immediately just rise to the presidency,
I should just go for. I mean, why mess around?
Just go straight for it. Yeah, now is the time. With everybody's divided, we need EMac to bring us all together, in my opinion. But that's just one man's opinion. Should we start with this 4-game early slate? Are you ready to start breaking it down?
Absolutely.
All right, we will start with the 4-game early slate, starting with the old rivalry, Red Sox at Yankees. Cutter Crawford on the mound for the Red Sox, Garrett Cole for the Yankees. Any interest in the pitchers, EMac?
Yes, Garrett Cole, American League Cy Young frontrunner. We want to build our lineups around him on the early slate. However, we can hedge our risk because I also like him for under 7.5 strikeouts. So that is available via Odd Shopper. I looked up that this morning, sister site to Stochastic, and we've got him for about I think a 65% chance he goes under that strikeout number. That doesn't mean, we're not going to get there in DFS. He just hasn't had double-digit strikeouts in about 5 games. To be fair, in about half his games, he does have 8 or more, about 44%. But I think this iteration of the of the Red Sox are not as strikeout friendly, but they're not going to scare us either because, again, Cole is a minus 225 favorite to win the American League Cy Young. Gaussman is next. And if I remember correctly, he was like plus 400. So that's a pretty big gap right now. So Cole is the obvious key play. In his last 14 games, he's allowed more than 3 runs only once. And that was somehow the White Sox got to him for 4 runners. So that's not too shabby. 14 games, that was his worst outing. The projected Boston lineup has a 21% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching over the last 2 seasons. That's right around or just a little below league average, but in that same time frame, Cole has a 30% strikeout rate, so he can get done what he needs to get done. On the other side, you do have Cutter Crawford. Now he converted from the bullpen. I like him as an SP2 today because he's going against the Yankees that do not have a lot of left-handed power. We'll see what their lineup is, but I know their lineup is out, so let me just filter on it for a moment. So Jake Bowers and Billy McKinney are their lefty, air quote, power bats. They each have in excess of a 200 ISO against in lefty-righty matchups this year. But come on, are they really that terrifying? After that, you've got, the ghost of DJ LeMahieu. Obviously, no Anthony Rizzo. He's on the injured list. Josh Donaldson on the injured list. Judge and Stanton are there, but this is a lineup I think that Cutter can neutralize it because there's just not enough left. There's only 2 lefties, I guess, technically, to go after him. So he would be a fine SP2 that's who's missing. Devers is in the lineup.
Oh, Devers is out of the lineup. Wow.
Yeah.
We just had our friend Steven Leibowitz in chat, who I believe is a Red Sox homer, but he says Red Sox have beaten up Cole on several occasions for what it's worth. Devers kind of smites him. But if Devers is out.
Yeah, Devers is batting second.
Okay.
I was expecting to see him a little further down the lineup. No. So sorry, but back to that. That still doesn't scare me off Cole. He's still the best pitcher of the day for this slate. Is it a guarantee he's going to do well? No, it's baseball. But he's the league leading candidate for Cy Young. You can't ask for much beyond that. And Boston, sorry, Steven, middling offense this year.
Middling offense. Sorry, Steven. Any interest in playing the offenses here?
No, he's correct. The Yankee lefties are fine. The 2 of them and Stanton and Judge. From the Boston side, you can do a little home run hunting. No issues there. Cole does challenge hitters. He doesn't allow as many home runs as some of the other power pitchers do, or at least he's not this season. But if you're going to get to him, that's how it's going to be. But it's probably going to be solo shots, which makes it a little tough to stack against him. And even if he implodes, like we saw with Strider, he has said, with the exception of last night where he was dominant, he had a couple rough outings, and a rough outing for him is he gave up 4 or 5 runs. That does not make a stack because it's usually not with multiple extra base hits.
Yeah.
So there might be 1 or 2 in there. So,
all right, rank the 4 sides of the game.
Cole, Cutter, Crawford, Yankees top 4, Red Sox. Skipping LeMahieu, so 2 through 5 for the Yankees, and then Red Sox.
Jake Swell says, EMac Neil, what up, boys? Jake Swells, I think, is a Florida man himself, so this is one of your constituents. So any pitch for Jake Swells to vote for?
No, we are running on the platform as I announced on the High Stakes podcast a while back.
Yep.
I'm running under the Pizza Party. Our motto is a pizza in every oven.
It's perfect.
We've got something for everyone. You want to be gluten-free? We got that. You want vegetarian only? We got that. White sauce instead of red sauce? No problem. We got you covered. It's the pizza party. We're going to have fun. We're going to be nice to each other, and we're not going to lie. There we go. Simple platform. Simple platform.
Chris King says Tampa Hard Rock is one of the largest in the country. Maybe you can team up with Hard Rock to make pizzas for everybody. I don't know. Apparently it's very large. Probably some options for pizza though. All right. Second game on this early set, we got Kansas City at Chicago. Brady Singer on the mound for the Royals. Justin Steele for the Cubs. Any interest in these pitchers?
So Justin Steele is effectively going to be our second starting pitcher for this matchup. Let me get over to my notes page. He's going to be the pivot away from Cole. This year, he has had some issues with opposite-handed power. However, that's really only Bobby Witt. And we look at Nelson Vasquez, who has a couple of nice extra base hits in his 20 at-bats against lefties this season. You've got Sal Perez, who slumping this year. He normally has just been a lefty masher, but he's going to be in the heart of the order. And then Freddie Fermin would be the only other person I'm rather interested in. I think Witt. And then I want to actively target Witt, and then the other guys, if they land in my lineup, that's fine. Regarding Steele, he is a step down from Cole, but he is the SP2 on the slate for sure. If we look at the other side of this game, Brady Singer has been a mess. He has been he's allowed 3 or fewer runs in his last 5 games, but his strikeouts have been all over the place. They come and go, which is a problem. He also, some games, just gets all sorts of ground balls. And then other games, suddenly he's a fly ball pitcher. I have him in my dynasty league against Team McBee. So I follow Singer closely here. But he's an okay pitcher, but just target anybody with power from the Cubs. They're going to be in just fine against him. Bellinger would be number 1. Christopher Morel would be 2. Heimer Candelario would be 3. And then you can fill them in with, fill in the slots there with Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, whomever is nearby in the order, Seiya Suzuki, etc. So
Stephen points out wind out to left in Wrigley, so that'll help some of these righties.
So the wind, they'd made a lot of renovations of 3 or 4 years ago. I've lost track with the pandemic, pre-pandemic. And what they did is they built out a lot. There was the teams arguing with the buildings around them, and they wanted to build things to block it, or get a piece of the money from the fans that were sitting on the rooftops. Because before, it was, 30 years ago, it was just people like sitting in lawn chairs on the rooftops. Now most of the rooftops around there have built bleachers and sell concessions and do things like that. So the team's like, hey, give us a little something for the effort, folks. But they built out things. They changed their scoreboard. It's cut down the wind. And we saw that, 2 or 3 days ago? It was like, oh my God, the wind's here, the Wrigley wind. It's like, it hasn't been that way in a long time. It needs to be 20, 25 miles an hour sustained before I would consider it a wind game. And we just don't get that. So it is not the renovations and changes to the ballpark and the surrounding area don't mitigate the wind like they do in San Francisco. But it's not like it used to be, where a pop-up was literally going out of the ballpark.
That's a really good I did not realize that they had made those changes. That's really interesting.
It shouldn't be a surprise for people. This has been trending down for quite some time. And then the other thing is, even when you have the win games, like there was a great one, must have been 2 or 3 seasons ago, and it was like legit pop it up, carry the ball out. I forget who it was, but somebody had 3 home runs, and the team scored like 5 total runs. So it was like this. It was like an average hitter who probably had like 15 or 20 home runs on the season. It was just like, okay, it worked for him, but nobody else in the game. Is it really the Wrigley wind? Kind of thing. So it was fortuitous hitting on his part to the right spots with a little gust from the gods. But I don't let that drive me as much as I did, 5+ years ago for DFS. And that those days, it was like, this is like Coors Field kind of change to the over-unders.
Right. It's like you look for winds blowing in, winds blowing out, both pretty impactful used to be in Wrigley. I did not realize that. I mean, it's obviously reflected in things like the line, so it'll be reflected in projections anyway. But still, interesting thing to note. Stephen says EMac also an architect. Yeah, EMac knows his stuff. He's a man who knows. He's a Renaissance man. He knows many things. Obi says rooftop beaches and bars. No, yeah, they have. I assume so. It sounds like the Wrigley's making them pay for those somehow now, though.
So there was some. They have to give a percentage. I have not read up on it since, but there were lawsuits. Of course, there were lawsuits. This is America. It's the only way we know how to do anything. But then there was talk that they were going to build do some outfield tarps high to cause some problems for some of the visibility, and it was just like, can we just get along, really?
Right. Jake Swell says I live at the Tampa Hard Rock, so he's there all the time.
Hey.
Andy Millman says roasting here, Delray Beach. I assume that's Florida. I did not know that Andy was also a Florida man. We got a lot of Florida, a lot of constituents for EMac right here in chat. All right. What is your level of any interest in the Kansas City bats?
So outside of Witt, the other righties in the top half, sprinkle them in. They're okay. I think Fermin's fine as a catcher. I'd probably even go Fermin over Sal Perez. FanDuel, you can play them both where there's position flexibility, but I'd probably lean towards Fermin. He's just in better form this year than Perez is.
How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Steele far and away. Cubs bats. Royals bats. Singer. Okay. Like my high end expectation for Singer would be like a quality start and 5 strikeouts.
Okay.
So
not a priority for you. Yeah. Okay. Jackleberry says Orlando represent. Yeah, we got a lot of Florida representatives here. All right.
There's 2 more games. There's 22 million people in Florida. It's a very populous state.
Yeah, that's really popular. I did not realize that it was that populated. That's crazy.
I think I saw that on an article I was reading. I could be wrong. I haven't sourced that directly, but I think it was 22 million.
What is that, like 8% of our population? Something, or wait, something. I don't know. I don't know what the. All right.
Like what? Florida population 22.48.
What's the U.S. population?
22.2 in the last census. So fluctuate a tiny bit there.
Crazy. All right. Philadelphia at Washington. Christopher Sanchez on the mound for the Phillies. Jake Irvin for the Nats. What is your level of interest in these pitchers?
Pitchers are nominal at best. So the Philadelphia pitcher, I think you still have time. If you're streaming season-long leagues, you can definitely look to him there. He is an SP2 candidate here on DraftKings. There is no early slate on Yahoo, so that's kind of takes him out of the mix. He is 7,100 on DK. He has had 3 of his last 4 starts have been solid. He's going against the Nationals, who there was a little bit of a battle last night. Nationals gave up 6 in the top of the 4th. They scored 6 in the bottom of the 4th, took a 7-6 lead and held it for the rest of the game. Wow, didn't see that one coming. I think the Nationals used up their allotment of runs for this weekend, so I'm not particularly worried about the Nationals bats, but the Milwaukee pitcher is, he's an average talent at best. I want us to focus on the Phillies bats because last night you had Kyle Schwarber, 2 home runs. That was very, very nice. Former National. You've got Bryce Harper, 2 doubles last night, 2 home runs the game before, 2-time MVP. Again, remember he's dealing with that elbow injury that normally would have the Tommy John type injury, but he's playing first base now, and it took him a while to rehab this season. It's still impacting him, but it's good to see 4 extra base hits in his last 2 games. This is the kind of pitcher that will give that up. Looking at Jake Irvin, he is the pitcher for the Nationals. He has allowed multiple home runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. In these 5 starts, he has allowed 9 total home runs, Neil, but only 14 earned runs. Something's a little off there. I think he's been lucky because batters haven't gotten on base when their counterparts are hitting long balls. So he makes me nervous, very, very nervous. Jake Cave should be at the bottom of the order. He's your discount dandy of the day. Extra base hit potential. I think he had double or 2 doubles last night. That just kind of shows the upside that he has. So I think he's fine. And then turn around to the righties, JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos, Bryson Stott, Trey Turner. A lot of ex-nationals here playing prominent roles for the Phillies. So, but Trey Turner slumped his way all the way down to batting 7th or 8th. He's back up to 6th. Isn't that wild? Like, he was like fringe MVP candidate.
Yeah, that is.
He was traded from the Nationals to the Dodgers, and he signed that gigantic contract with the Phillies.
You know, I was just looking at my playoff best ball today. I got 2. I only played like 10 or so lineups, MLB best ball, but I got 2 of them for the second half of the season into the second round. And Trey Turner has scored 0 points for my team so far, which just means he hasn't made it into my lineup. But I'm like, man, that was a waste. What a waste for Trey Turner. All right, how would you rank the 4 sides of this Philly-Washington game?
Philly bats, Philly pitcher, Washington bats. Let's call out some of the Washington bats here, and then I wouldn't play the Washington pitcher. If I look at specific Washington hitters to go against, so I always like CJ Abrams. He's been a heck of a talent, but lefty matchup makes it a little bit tough going against Christopher Sanchez. But he's going to be leading off, and they're just they're letting him figure it out, as he is probably their highest upside talent player. You can look to Lane Thomas, Joey Meneses, Stone Garrett, Keibert Ruiz. Those guys are all okay from the right side of the plate. They're going to put mostly righties out there today, but the rest of the hitters are marginal at best. And even Ruiz and Meneses don't have a lot of sustained success when it comes to power. They're okay with contact, but power not that good.
Okay, so with that in mind, so then you didn't rank the 4 sides yet, did you?
Well, yeah. So Phillies bats by far, Phillies pitcher, Washington bats, and then don't play Jake Irvin. We're going to talk about Cole Irvin later today. No relation. We're going to play Cole Irvin, not Jake.
All right, got to remember which Irvin to play. Ken Roddy says, raised in Orlando, pre-Disney, older than EMac. Nobody's older than EMac. I don't believe that for a second. He says there was not much more than orange groves and lakes. It was beautiful. That sounds beautiful. Orange groves and lakes doesn't get much better than that. That's great. But yeah, clearly not older than EMac. You're underestimating how old EMac is. Peter Wysocki says DraftKings has Devers in the lineup. Yeah, I think he is.
He is. I was looking for him in the 4-hole. He's batting second today. That was my mistake.
And then Steven points out that the Nationals are 20-13 since the All-Star game. That's kind of nuts.
They've been kind of frisky, just kind of out of nowhere. And it makes no sense, because if you go look at their lineup, it truly makes no sense. But here we are. Baseball being baseball.
Baseball being baseball. All right, final game of this early slate. We got Milwaukee at Texas. Freddie Peralta on the mound for the Brewers. Dane Dunning for the Rangers. Tell me about your level of interest in the pitchers.
So Freddie Peralta has been on a nice little run. Of course, that probably will end today going against the Rangers, who are an elite offense. The Rangers also have they've got Jonah Heim back, and then they've got Mitch Garver healthy at the same time. So the only hitter they're missing right now is Josh Young. So they have their top 6 is absolutely phenomenal. And I would call this that phenomenal lineup against the solid above average pitcher in Freddie Peralta. It's going to kind of neutralize itself. So this would be the proverbial both sides or the scumdacker approach, if you will, because if things go sideways for Peralta, they can go very badly. And this is the team that could get to him because they just have an amazing combination of power, contact, below average strikeouts, and above average walks. So if Peralta doesn't have it today, he's going to be in trouble. On the flip side here, let's take a peek at. So we've got Dane Dunning today. Dunning was in the running for me as the SP2. Ultimately, because we don't have to worry about Coors Field on the slate, I settled on Steele. But I think Dunning is in this conversation. The Milwaukee Brewers lineup has been completely Jekyll and Hyde. They do better when they're able to face righties because then they can get rookie Sal Frelick in the mix. They've got Rowdy Tellez back. That's helpful. You've got Yelich, who's actually performing well this season. The two-time batting champion, former MVP this year in 380 plate appearances in lefty-righty matchups. He has nearly a 400 WOBA and a 200 ISO. That he's back to his elite levels. That is good to see because he and Bellinger were just in multi-year slumps.
Yeah.
And with Bellinger he couldn't hit anything for whatever reason. And then with Yelich, his launch angle was just a mess. Everything was into the ground. So it seems like both those guys have finally come around and are relatively trustworthy today. Or in this season's DFS. Sure. Dunning does a pretty decent job of limiting power. He has okay strikeouts. He has this season again against opposite-handed hitters, a 150 ISO against same-handed, a 107. Last season he allowed more power. It was about a 175 split to both righties and lefties across about 340 of each. But if we put last season into this season, it gets it down to a pretty respectable 163 ISO against lefties and 140 against righties. So I give him the slight edge in this matchup. I believe the roof is going to be closed today in Texas. I will go look at that in just a sec, but that does help pitching a little bit. So for perspective to rank these, it would literally be number one is Dunning. Okay. Number two, it's a coin flip between Freddie Peralta and the Texas offense. I don't know which one I want, but someone could break through in this one. I would lean slightly to the Texas offense. But again, if Peralta is doing okay and gives up 4 earned runs and 2 home runs and a double, that doesn't make a great stack. So, and then at the bottom would be the Brewers hitters.
Yeah. Oh, Brewers hitters at the bottom. Oh, it's Dane Dunning first. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Yep.
So let's look and see what Ranger Blake says. So if you go to Ranger Blake on Twitter, it's John Blake. He's their executive vice president of public affairs. He has not tweeted yet today, but he tweets out what uniforms they will be wearing and if the roof will be closed. It's hot in Texas today. They built this roof to be closed more often than not. Just assume it's closed during the summer. It's their default position for this.
All right. So we made it through all of the games on the early slate. Who are your 3 favorite offenses on this early slate?
You have to go with the Phillies, right? It's pretty clear. They're head and shoulders above everybody. So Phillies number 1, Cubs number 2, really focusing on Bellinger, Swanson, Morel, Candelario. Put Ian Happ in there. And then number 3, gosh, do we have to pick a third? Do we really have to pick a third?
Yep.
I am going to have to say the Yankees. Tepid at best. Sorry to all the Yankees fans. Did you know this is the latest since 1995 that they've dipped below 500? The latest point.
No way. That's crazy. I mean, it's not totally shocking to me because it's the Yankees, but still, man, that's a long time to not be under 500 this late. 3 favorite pitchers.
Clearly Cole, then it's going to be Steele, and then Dunning.
Home run pick for the early slate.
Ooh, my favorite part. I'm going to go with Schwarber again. I had him last night. I wrote him up as a home run pick today too. So
I'm going to go way off the board here with Aaron Judge. All right,
okay.
We can move on to we got 10 games. I was thinking it was just an 8-game main slate. No, we have 10 more games.
7 on FanDuel and it's 10 on DraftKings. So let's walk through the DraftKings side.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll walk through the 10 on DraftKings. First, Ken Roddy says that he was born in 55. So yeah, a good 20 years younger than EMac. He was saying he's older, but that's not even close to older than EMac. Steven points out Tristan Casas was scratched and no story. So yeah, Red Sox downgraded a little bit. And then Humboldt suggests Stochastic should do a chat reunion and get us all together to attend a game. Drunken debauchery, anyone? You should start.
I'll have to have Adam come down to visit, and he can be the liaison for the bar.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, Adam knows all the bartenders everywhere, so perfect liaison there.
I'm good for about 2 drinks, and that's it. So,
I can drink a beer all night. And then I'll feel really awful. One thing I've learned is if I drink when I'm out, and then I drink beer, then I get hungover. Even if I don't like get drunk that night, or like I don't feel like I get really drunk, I feel so much worse when I drink out because I think I drink more beer. Whereas at home, I'm like, yeah, I'll just have a bourbon, and like I never get hungover if I just like have a bourbon at home. But yeah, so I can hang out with you guys, but you'll have to organize in Discord, I guess. I don't know how we would organize a stochastic reunion, but I think Discord probably the only way you're only going to get stochastic members. I don't know what the plan would be there. We should move on. We should move on to the main slate, which is a 10 gamer that we're going to get through here. Starting with Detroit at Cleveland. Matt Manning on the mound for the Tigers. Tanner, I forget how. I knew this at one point. Is it Bibby or Bybee?
Bybee.
Tanner Bybee on the mound for the Guardians. What is your level of interest in these pitchers, EMac?
So Tanner Bybee is the number one pitcher of the slate. He has he was a 5th round selection in the 2021 draft. He played single A and double A last year. This year he was in triple A for 3 starts, and then they promoted him up. He has a 2.9 ERA, 3.5 xERA, almost a strikeout per inning, just 10 home runs allowed across 108 innings. The Detroit Tigers still bad. Over their last 16 games, or this month in 16 games, they have scored more than 4 runs half a dozen times. In the last 9 starts for Bybee, he has a 1.8 ERA, a 3.3 fielding independent pitching, that would be FIP, and a 0.213 or a 213 batting average against in 55 innings. So Bybee is the real deal. We definitely want to look to him, and Detroit has improved compared to where they were at the beginning of the season with their current active roster, but they're still not great.
Okay.
So Bybee, number 1. I wanted to go with Matt Manning. I'm going to go with Matt Manning as number 2. This is the interesting part. So he looked like he hit the rookie, or not, he's not a rookie. He looked like he kind of hit a wall because he was getting near a career high in innings, but he seems to have, and it's weird when you say that. It's like, oh my God, they hit the wall, but now they've pushed through it.
Right.
We'll see. He was cruising along at a 3.2 ERA towards the end of July. And then in his final start in July, 5 innings, 7 earned runs to the Angels. Then in August, Pittsburgh, 6 innings, 4 earned runs. And then Tampa Bay, 5.2 innings, 6 earned runs, 8 total runs. And in his last game against Steven Leibowitz's Boston Red Sox, he shut him out. Well, technically, he gave up a run, but it was unearned in 5.1 innings. So his strikeouts have gone down, and that was ultimately what drove me away from him. But we want to remember that this the lineup for Cleveland has changed dramatically. So they've got Jose Ramirez back from his suspension, all of that. So they've got, Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, Andres Jimenez, but then now Cole Calhoun playing a prominent role because they traded away 3 everyday starters. So you've got Cole Calhoun batting cleanup. That's not a good idea. Oscar Gonzalez, he's a rookie with promise, made it with the big club out of Kent, got bounced to AAA. He's back up, but struggling. You have Will Brennan, who's showing flashes of upside. He looks like a rich man's version of Stephen Kwan, perhaps. And then, of course, Josh Naylor's injured. So I guess they traded away Rosario and Santana, and Josh Naylor's injured. So they have a hole in the middle of their lineup. So if we look at just this season, there are 4, 5, 6, 7 hitters. The best is Will Brennan with a 0.117 ISO. The other guys are 0.8 or below, 0.08 or below. 0.8. God, dyslexia is hitting me hard today. But so there's literally no power. So the Cleveland offense is filled with strikeouts now, where it wasn't before, and they don't have any power. So I can't vouch for Manning in this one just because he hasn't gotten a lot of strikeouts. But this is like the opposite of the play both sides of the Texas-Milwaukee game. This is begrudgingly, if it's a secondary stack or an SP2 coming from this side, I'll play them, and that would be the Guardians bats, and the SP2 would be Manning. But Tanner Bybee, number 1 by far. Down 3 rungs, everybody else. Close your eyes and pick something.
All right, you're not gonna endorse any of them with the second of the group. All right, that is fair enough. We won't go there. We won't rank him. We're just going to go Tanner Bybee and then big gap and then throw stuff at the wall if you really want to. Sven Gunderson says, I like these old guys. It's the geriatric power hour. So yes, Ken, I did see that Sven called me old. That is nothing
sponsored
new.
by Metamucil. Metamucil, it makes things work.
Yeah, it's very, very offensive to me. Everybody trying to say that I'm 50 years old. No, EMac is 50 years. You're probably 51 by now. I know that I remember your 50th birthday, yes. But it must have been more than a year ago, right?
It was 52.
Yeah. 52. My God, I didn't realize that I'd known you that long. Yeah, so EMac,
a long time. Been
around the block a couple times. All right, we can move on. True Ray just says, see Cole Irvin getting love. Don't like it. Leaning towards Sonny Gray and Tanner Bybee and Cash. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there to Cole Irvin. But first, coming up next, we got Seattle at Houston. Logan Gilbert on the mound for the Mariners. Framber Valdez for the Astros. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
It's like Framber Valdez, really, really good. And then I wrote up a whole thing about how he wasn't using his, I forget what it was, his cutter or whatever. He changed his pitch mix. He got called out on it. And he's like, this was all part of the plan. And I said, take the under on his 4.5 strikeouts. That was the day he pitched the perfect game. So it looks like that may have taken a little bit out of him. He's kind of struggled a little bit in his couple starts since then. Mariners are pesky, but I would lean towards Framber Valdez. He's definitely in the mix as a tournament SP starting pitcher. I would not use him in cash. And that, like 4 months ago, I would have been saying he was the perfect person to pair with Bybee. I don't feel that way anymore. We will be talking about the other Irvin today, but and that's a price play. But I think Framber Valdez is definitely in the pitching mix for tournaments. Logan Gilbert has been outstanding for the Mariners. I mean, the Mariners just keep churning out these amazing pitchers from their farm system. It's been pretty impressive. The tough part is you're looking at a mostly healthy Houston lineup. Tucker was out last night. I don't remember why he was out, but let's see if he's in the projected lineup today. He may have just been getting a day of rest. It's so hard looking up all these. There's so many double headers in this today. Tucker's in the projected lineup, so he must have just had a day off. But you got Tucker, Alvarez, Alex Bregman has just been phenomenal against same-handed hitters. And Gilbert has given up a little more power this year than he did last year. So last year, it was mostly concentrated. Let me get back to last year's stats. So last year, he was just phenomenal with the 112 ISO against lefties, tougher against righties, 180. That's normalized back down to a 160 against righties, but a 150 against lefties. So he's got about a 160 total ISO. That's up about 10% from last year. And that's kind of in the red zone, if you will. That means he gives up more power than we would like. It doesn't always manifest in home runs, but extra base hits can be a problem. He's a decent strikeout pitcher, 25% this season, relatively even split to batters from either side of the plate. That's gone up, but that's also he's challenging hitters more, so that's also caused his power numbers to be higher. So that's kind of a tough ask against the top five here of the Astros. The back half of the Astros lineup is they're better suited to take on lefties than they are righties. So Logan Gilbert is about your fifth or sixth choice as a tournament pitcher. Don't cross him out, but I think he's like a 20% cap on DK. Probably get him on around 15% of lineups. On the other side with Valdez, I would cap him at 30, probably expecting him on 20 to 25% of DK lineups. And then looking to the hitters, we've got two good pitchers here, so you're not looking at the riffraff. You're looking at the quality hitters as your key options, which is easy when you're looking at Houston because it's the top five: Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, Alvarez, and Diaz. When you go to Seattle, it gets a little tougher because you have Julio Rodriguez, who is absolutely locked in. I think he's broken free from that sophomore slump. You have Teoscar Hernandez, who is a god against lefties. But Framber Valdez is no typical lefty, right? He goes with about a 60% ground ball rate. And while that has come down a little bit this year. His strikeout rates have gone way up. So it's hard to advocate any offense against Framber Valdez just because he doesn't allow base runners or extra base hits, which makes it a problem. And he gets so many ground balls, he can get out of trouble if people are on base. But I think you look to Julio. I mentioned Teoscar Hernandez. Those would be the top two. If you're trying to do a stack, God, as slumping as he has been this season against lefties, a Eugenio Suarez or catcher Cowell, coin flip on those guys.
All right, rank the four sides.
It is going to be Framber number 1, Houston top 5 bats number 2. Slightly below them is Gilbert, and then well down the list, use the Mariners as one-offs. I don't see a stack being important.
Benny says he danced at prom to Straight Up by Paula Abdul. I don't think I know Straight Up by Paula. I associate Paula Abdul with my older sister. Like from when I was a kid, that was one of like the CDs that she had.
How do you not know Straight Up?
I'm sure that if I heard
MC
it, I would
Scat
probably
Cat. Come on.
I'm not familiar with Scat. I think Paula Abdul is also like on The Voice now or something, as I recall, or
was on one of those,
or America's Got Talent, whatever. Yeah, she's a judge on one of those shows. EMac use Kappa. I don't even know what that means. Power books. I don't know what that word means. Yeah.
Benny Levant. Yes, they did have paddles when we were in school. Oh yeah, they did.
Did they really?
Little holes drilled in it and everything, hanging on the principal's wall. You'd go sit on the bench that was outside the office, and if you were sitting on the bench, it was this very narrow bench, like very narrow. So basically, barely your butt was on it, and it was at a bad position. So it was almost like you were doing wall sits, and you'd have to wait, and they'd make you wait, and everybody would walk by you because that was the main entrance to the school, and then they'd call you in, get your axe.
I thought you were joking at first when you started talking about the paddles, but this is too much detail. Like this is
it was really a different world back then. I only got hacked once.
You're only 12 years older than me. That is that's kind of nuts to me that
I grew up in a very small town. Okay. Very, very backwoods.
And Catholic? Did you go to Catholic school?
No, it was there was only one school.
All right. All right. Sorry, getting off track because I was so blown away by your paddle story. I'm like, man, I didn't realize that I was so close.
Have you seen the movie Dazed and Confused before?
It's been a little while, but yeah, I've seen it.
So what that looked like, that was what the high schoolers looked like to me when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because I would have been in about 2nd grade when that movie
was on.
So they were driving the muscle cars and the bell bottoms and
So cool. Yeah. I bet. I don't know who Obi-Wan is talking with, the OG Laker girl. I don't know what that means.
Paula Abdul was a Laker girl.
No, really.
Was the head of their choreography. I think she dated Magic Johnson at one point, and then that was how she started dating Arsenio Hall, was kind of because they were friends, and obviously she's gorgeous, but yeah, she was a Laker girl.
And Steven says maybe a Neil and EMac dance off would be good right now. I almost didn't even read it because I'm like, no, that ain't happening. But maybe I'm sure you guys would enjoy it. But no, you wouldn't enjoy it. We
can do the chicken dance.
Yeah. Nick asks, can we use the lineup generator for the early slate? No, the lineup generator is only available for the main slate, unfortunately. But yeah, so not available for the early slate. You could use the Sims tool for the early slate. Obviously, it's a kind of a different level though. All right, on to the third game of this slate. We've got Pittsburgh at my Minnesota Twins. Mitch Keller on the mound for the Pirates, Sonny Gray for the Twins. What's your level of interest in these pitchers, EMac?
Sorry, I was reading a text there from my wife. This is going to be an important one because how do we land on Sonny Gray? So you have, we almost need your analysis on this one for the Twins. So I like the Twins bats going against Keller. I really don't want to play Keller. He is interesting in that over his last 2 games, he's allowed just 4 runs in 11 innings. But if we look at his last 6, he's been awful. It goes all the way to a 7.7 ERA, a 5.7 FIP, 3.340 batting average. Basically, he makes everybody look like they're a Triple Crown winner. That's not good when you consider he was also an all-star this year for the first time. So he's fallen off the shelf. Regression has definitely caught up with him. When you look to Sonny Gray, he is very matchup dependent, and this matchup could be the time where we need to utilize him. And let's pull up the Pittsburgh offense. So Sonny Gray this season has limited power in an insane fashion. Against 570 hitters, he has a .088 isolated power. That means he gives up almost no extra base hits and very few home runs. He gets okay strikeouts. He has okay walk rate. But the challenge is if he's not inducing ground balls, things can go sideways because he does have about a 50% hard hit rate. So that means line drives are the bane of his existence. That's the kind of power profile that both Brian Reynolds and Jack Suwinski have. So I do like both of them. But ultimately, I would land with Sonny Gray in this matchup against the Pirates. The Pirates have a lot of strikeouts. But what's a better way to say it? The back half of their lineup with all the rookies, Andy Rodriguez, Alika Williams, Liovo Peguero, Alfonso Rivas, combined, they have about 300 at-bats in the majors. That's across 4 of them. So not a lot of experience. They have a fair amount of strikeouts. That's kind of skewing things, but that's also the perfect place where you could get a 3-up, 3-down inning. And if Gray can get to that part of the lineup twice today, he should have a very good game. I like him for about 7 innings and 6 strikeouts and 3 earned runs allowed. That's kind of where I would be happy with that. And 45-50% chance he gets the win. So I think he is someone that is on the short list. I would like Gray more than Framber Valdez when we start looking at price. So that's to give everybody a perspective on that. But the only hitters that scare me would be Ke'Bryan Hayes and Jack Suwinski. When we turn to targeting Mr. Mitch Keller, you've got a lot of injuries that have hit your team this year, Neil. They're kind of mostly healthy at this point, except no Buxton. You got Carlos Correa still dealing with a sore foot, but Max Kepler looks really good. He just had a double last night, but I like him in this matchup. Edward Julian has a lot of power, but he gets pinch hit for surprisingly a little more often than I would have thought. And then Jorge Polanco is very good. He's probably the best hitter, does his best work from the left side of the plate. And then Matt Wallner has some power. You know who also has some power? Joey Gallo. Do you know what Joey Gallo's batting average is this season?
Probably like 200.
No, that would be higher than his career number. He is at 185.
He's below 200 for his career. I didn't realize that.
I think he's at 198 for his career. His 185 is the best he has had since Texas traded him midseason to New York.
Oh, no. At least he is for power, though. I mean, as long as he's hitting a home run with most of those hits.
Yes, that would be the goal. But damn, this is horrible.
Yeah, it's not ideal. We got Royce Lewis in the projected lineup today.
Yes, rookie Royce Lewis. He missed. I can't remember what his injury was. He missed a chunk of time. What's the breakdown on him? Is he gonna steal bases, or is he more of a doubles hitter that's going to grow into a fill out into a power hitter?
I think he's got some speed, so I would expect him to steal bases. I mean, he's only got 2 stolen bases so far this year, but I would imagine he's going to steal more bases as his career goes on. I don't know. Maybe other people have opinions on Royce Lewis potential as a prospect, but yeah, he's glad to see him finally making an impact. I feel like we've been waiting for Royce Lewis for a while. 340 batting average so far this year. I did not realize he was. I thought he had hit a little bit of a slump at one point, but glad to see the 340
he
batting
started
average.
off like a lot of rookies, gangbusters, because a lot of times the major league pitcher is just like, all right, can you hit the fastball? Right. And then when they demonstrate that, it's like, oh, okay. Well, here's the real major league pitching, and they start throwing breaking balls. Right? Yeah. So he was okay. He went down, got hurt, and he seems to be much better. Yeah, I was surprised that it's at 340. I would have guessed like 290. Yeah. I knew he'd come back, but that 340.
Came back with a vengeance, apparently. Good to see there. How would you rank the four sides of the game?
So we're definitely going to go Sonny Gray first, Minnesota Twins second. I'm okay with I haven't built cash lineups yet, but if Reynolds or Jack Sawinski ended up in my DK cash lineup, I wouldn't be against it. I set my cash game lineups to allow one hitter against a pitcher. I found that helps make me a little bit more unique, and a lot of times it ends up being Sawinski and whoever is facing him. It's like, well, I'm going to target Pittsburgh, but you know what? Sawinski's not too bad. I'll take him for the discount. And a lot of people don't like to do that. I don't force it. But something like that probably happens about once a week in my cash lineups. And I'm running. I've been playing the single entry 50-50s on DraftKings. So I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's interesting to see. Clearly there are lineup trains where people are just using certain projection systems. Yeah. And so I won't play the $25 one on some slates just because it's like the other night there was like, even in the $10, it was the first game back in Coors Field, there was 100-person train. So 25% of the field basically had the same lineup. You're like, well,
yeah. I mean,
I don't really want to go a 2v2 off of that and do flipping for home runs, right?
Yeah.
That's not worth it to me in a cash game. But I usually can build my lineup unique. Without trying too much at all. So it's been kind of a fun challenge for me this year, but it's a different way to play the game.
Nice.
And approach it. So
so did you finish ranking the four sides of the Twins game?
Sorry. And Keller, don't play Keller. So from bottom, don't play Keller. Play the two lefties at the top of the order for the Pirates. Definitely play the lefties for the Twins, and Sonny Gray is in contention for your cash game pitcher. He doesn't quite have enough strikeouts to get there for me, which is why I'm going to end up going to the pairing of Irvin and Bybee.
Do you have more interest in Sonny? I mean, I think you project him for 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, and 300. That was your not really projection.
That's my hopeful. That's like my 20%. That's like his 80th percentile outcome, in my opinion.
Does
so
that
attainable, but anything less than a quality start, I'll be disappointed. But he could get a quality start and still only have 3 or 4 strikeouts, and it doesn't matter.
But on FanDuel, so it sounds like he'd be more appealing on FanDuel than DraftKings.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. And for those of you, that's always a fun way to think about things. On FanDuel, you really got to think about that quality start.
Yeah.
Because that scoring doesn't exist on DraftKings or Yahoo. Yahoo is the same. I'm pretty sure it's not on Yahoo. Yahoo is essentially. No, their baseball's a little bit different. Their basketball's the same as FanDuel. Their baseball's a tiny bit different. But for FanDuel, the things you want to remember is the way they have RBI and runs closer to home runs as compared to DraftKings. Those scoring are farther apart. That creates the need to kind of double stack or at least go 4 threes. But then the quality start, that's something that's more measurable and attainable than the win. Right, because even if you started both players in the game, a starting pitcher gets the victory about 35-40% of the time in a baseball game, and that's getting 2 starting pitchers. So the math says if you only get 1 starting pitcher in that game, you're down to about a 20% chance just across the entire season, right? Which it's math, that's how it works. But if they leave when it's tied, the bullpen gives up the lead, whatever. There are many ways to lose a start, and bullpen arms are pretty good. So a lot of times your guy gets a tie or you're up by 1, the other team catches you, and then nothing happens. And you're like, well, great. I thought I was going to get a win tonight, and now I'm not.
Yep. All right. We're 3 games down this 10-game evening slate.
So you're saying we should pick it up?
Yeah, I suppose we should pick it up a little bit. We'll go through one.
Wait, let me order lunch. So I'll have it delivered.
I'm also reading chat. All these, we got a lot of Catholic school kids in our lunch talking about the nuns from back in the day. I was not raised in a Catholic school. My mom went to a Catholic school and did not come out of it more Catholic as a result of going to Catholic school. I'll say that much.
My dad graduated from my high school 30 years before I did. And his mom graduated from the same high school 30 years before he did.
And that was like 1800. That's a long time ago that your grandmother graduated from your high school.
Yeah.
It's been there.
I had a bunch of teachers that he had, despite there being a
30-year gap. That is kind of nuts. All right. New York at St. Louis. We got Kodai Senga on the mound for the Mets. Miles Michaelis for the Cardinals. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
All right. So the Kodai Senga is he's going to have the edge over everybody in all of this. He's been kind of up and down his air quote rookie season. Remember, he had a decade in the Japan Baseball League. So he is perfectly fine, but this is not an easy lineup with the Cardinals. And for this being a down year for the Cardinals, I didn't look at it this week, but for perspective, they actually had let's just call it a minus 35 run differential, and Miami has like a minus 40 run differential, and Miami had 10 more wins than the Cardinals. And so Miami's a fringe playoff team and the Cardinals are not. The Cardinals have like the 5th or 6th most home runs and like the 11th most total runs. Cardinals are not and even their pitching wasn't bad. It was just one of those years where they weren't winning the close ones. Right. So, and Miami is that, there you go. That happens in baseball. So they're still a good team. They traded away some of their pitchers, but their offense is still pretty good. I still like Senga in tournaments. His strikeouts come and go, but he definitely has the ability to generate strikeouts on his own, which is important when we're looking at DFS. Strikeouts are the currency of the realm. So he would be my lead option on this. Miles Michaelis is a fine veteran who absorbs punishment, doesn't get strikeouts, rarely allows home runs. Not fun to stack against. He gets a bad rap, like, oh, he sucks. It's like, well, yeah, for DFS he does because he never gets strikeouts. That's a problem. So you're counting on wins and clean innings. So his score always looks bad, but that doesn't mean it's because he's giving up runs. It's because he's not getting strikeouts. So that tempers my enthusiasm for the Mets. And for as much of a disaster as the Mets are, they have some pretty good hitters too in their top half. So to me, this is Senga 1. And if he makes my lineup, yay. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm not going after him. It would be the Mets bats 2. And I'd really like their lefties plus Pete Alonso. Okay. No surprise there. It would be the Cardinals 3. I will actively make sure I have 5% Cardinal stacks today. Senga can implode. Cardinals are the team that can do it to him. I'm not going to go out of my way to get a lot of them, but I will make sure I have at least 5%. Which probably will be right around or above the field. Remember, those numbers are going to be slightly different because DraftKings has 10 games tonight, FanDuel and Yahoo have 7. And then last would be Michaelis. And if I will probably cap him at 10%, I will be sad if he comes in on more than 5% of my lineups. So when I'm saying I'm capping these, if you just capped your FanDuel pitcher total pitcher percentage to equal 100, your crunches will take forever to run because you need 100% pitching. So you want to keep your FanDuel around 130, 140, and you want to put your DraftKings at about 240 aggregate. And that otherwise you're going to get combinations and things you don't want unless you set a points floor or something like that, dollar floor, etc. Sure. So for Michaelis, I won't cross him out, but I will be surprised if he comes in more than 3 to 5%. I don't want him on more than 5%.
Okay. How about the bats in this game?
So let's call out a few specific ones. Looking first to the Mets, definitely Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso. And I'd probably say Francisco Alvarez. He's having a heck of a year for a rookie catcher. Vogelbach, pinch hit and pinch running risk because, he's festively plump, as they say. Jeff McNeil, great contact hitter, doesn't get very many home runs. I think he has just 6 on the season. So that's not going to play well against Michaelis. On the St. Louis side, you're definitely looking at Goldie and Nolan Arenado. I wonder I can't remember if Nolan Gorman is hurt or not, but I don't see him in the projected lineup. I would say Tommy Edman, if he's batting leadoff, which he should be, is fine as the switch hitter. And then Wilson Contreras is fine as the catcher. He is gone out of his slump that had him basically almost benched, Neil. Like they were talking about putting him in as a first baseman or another position. Remember that towards the beginning of the season? He was just a disaster after he came over from the Cubs. Guess what? He's a really good hitter. He found his stride. He's doing quite nicely. And all of a sudden the bat makes it worthwhile to have him behind the plate. There you go. He's no Yadier Molina when it comes to calling pitchers or calling the game for pitchers, but the bat more than balances it out.
How do you rank the four sides of the game?
Senga 1, Mets lefties plus Alonso 2, the core 3 for the Cardinals, number 4. I guess we can call him 4 if you put in Tommy Edman if he's leading off, and then Michaelis, but whatever.
All right, so we are through 4 of the 10 games. Let's do actually one more before we get to talking about underdog a little bit. Get halfway through. So the next game up, we have San Francisco at Atlanta. Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants. Yanni Chirinos for the Braves. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
This is a good one. No real interest. Logan Webb, good pitcher. I don't want to take on Atlanta. Just there you go. It's not worth it to me. How do you even gain leverage against a team like Atlanta? Because the way the salaries work and with Coors Field, nobody's really going to be going to Atlanta tonight. I don't really want to be going to Atlanta tonight because Webb is typically a ground ball pitcher. This year he has a 62% ground ball rate. Last year it was in the upper 50s. He does an okay job of limiting power, and he gets decent strikeouts. The strikeouts combined with the ground ball rate make it very hard for teams to put up a lot of runs against him, even a team like Atlanta. But Atlanta has a never-ending lineup, so this is kind of a stay away from Webb, stay away from Atlanta bats for me. I'm staying the hell away from Yanni Chirinos, but I love the San Francisco bats. Now, Neil, you're going to talk about pinch hit risk. And you're absolutely right tonight because Atlanta has 3 lefties in their bullpen. None of them were used last night. I think all but one of them hasn't pitched in the last 72 hours. They're very fresh. They're going to come in because their manager is no fool, and that's going to end up likely chasing Lamont Wade and Jock Peterson when Yanni Chirinos ultimately, technical term, shits the bed. So Chirinos has been tossing batting practice. He's allowed 19 runs in 18 and the third innings since Atlanta acquired him. That's a 9.3 ERA, a 5.3 FIP, and the 329 batting average against. Hot garbage. So Wilmer Flores has been getting more starts against righties. They're not going to pull him if a lefty comes in because he crushes lefties. So if he's starting, he's not going to get pinch hit for. Michael Conforto probably not going to get pinch hit for. Patrick Bailey, now we're looking at a catcher well down the lineup. He's probably not going to get pinch hit for. And then Tyro Estrada, probably not going to get pinch hit for. But he's not great against righties, so he's probably going to bat 8th or 9th, which makes it a challenge. So you're going to get guys like Jock Peterson, Lamont Wade, and then I think it'll be Wade Meckler, who's another lefty. He will get pinch hit for. Those 3 are going to get pinch hit for. And this is why you always have to pay attention to what it is in the bullpen. Most bullpens have 1 or 2 lefties. Atlanta has 3, and they're all fresh. They're going to do things to make the Giants go to their bench. So you're counting on, I would not play more than 2 of Peterson, Wade, or Meckler. I'd really focus it on Peterson and Wade. And really, if you're only playing one of them and 2 other Giants, I think that's a good idea. However, the Giants are, wait for it, Neil, my second best stack of the slate. Why is that? It's lineup construction. It's 3-man stacks, and it's allowing you to go nuts with the Coors Field game.
I was just going to ask you. So you're primarily just doing 3-man stacks with the Giants. You're usually not playing more than one of those guys that you think has some pinch hit risk.
I won't set a rule, but if those guys are coming in a lot, I will. If they're coming into those guys, meaning Peterson and Lamont Wade, if they're coming in a lot on the lineups, and they do, because you have to make sure your projections are accounting for these things correctly. Now, our projections typically do. We're figuring out number of at-bats or plate appearances, and they're capping these guys at like 3 or 3.1. But if you're using less than savory sources for your projections, they're not thinking about that. Or you might be, oh my God, look at this guy. He's so cheap. He's batting leadoff or he's batting cleanup. Yeah, because when a lefty comes in, he's going to go out. And managers know they're two of the better hitters on the team, Wade and Peterson. They want them out of the game. They're going to bring in a lefty to do that.
How would you rank the 4? I mean, it sounds like you would just play the Giants and nobody else. Is that kind of your ranking?
Giants is 3-man stacks. I don't really want anybody else. I definitely don't want Chirinos in any form or fashion. He will not even be. I will X him out of the player pool. If I end up with some Logan Webb, or if I ended up with some Atlanta bats, I'd be fine with it. The challenge is their point per dollar is not there today, so the optimizer is not going to pick them up. And because Atlanta is so expensive, I don't want to play them tonight. But I found the best way to get stacks of them is lock in the top 3 or 4 and build out some crunches and see what comes up, and then save those. Because if you're just letting the crunches get to them, it's not. It's going to start selecting, depending on where you put your percentages, it's going to start selecting the back half of the lineup, which is fine, but it's not the front half of the lineup, which is really good and really expensive. And that's been fun this season, that even FanDuel started pricing them up. But that's been a fun development this year on DraftKings, where 3 of the top 4 are $6,000 or more. And Acuna is pushing $7,000. That's just amazing.
Yeah, but that is crazy.
He's on pace for a 35-75 season, unheard of. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize. That is insane. I've never heard of that. Yeah. I guess you just said unheard of. I don't think it's literally never happened before, I assume.
Correct.
That is nuts. All right. So we have made it halfway through the slate. Perfect time to talk about our sponsor, Underdog. EMac, I'm going to enter a draft right here while I talk about. We're not going to do the whole draft. I'm going to enter an evening draft just so that we can talk about it a little bit, because I really want to tell you. So sign up for Underdog using the link. It is pinned in chat, and it's going to be first deposit match up to $100, and you're going to get access to our best ball and fantasy football package. But the reason I want to talk about it is because I absolutely love these baseball drafts. Since we're doing a baseball strategy show, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit, because I feel like most of the field is not that great. They don't do a lot of stacking. If you're watching an MLB DFS show, you probably understand the benefits of stacking. So I kind of feel like it's early days DFS. The field hasn't entirely figured out how to play it. So just to give you an idea of what I like to do, so you can see the ADPs here. Enter these drafts. So again, take advantage of our first deposit match up to $100. Enter one of these drafts, and then I look at our top stacks, top pitchers tool, and just look at who are our top stacks of the day. So today we see the White Sox top stack of the day. Let's see where the ADPs are on these White Sox players. So if you get Luis Robert in the first round, you can easily do a full like 1 through 5 stack of the top stack of the day. Like it's as long as you get Robert in the first round, there's a gap in ADP to the number 2 bat, Andrew Vaughn. It is so easy to stack up in these drafts. I really highly recommend it. And then, I of course use the top pitchers, the top batters tool to figure out like where are their tier breaks in terms of like which pitchers to go after. So we can see here we've got Glasnow number 1, Framber Valdez not far behind, Tanner Bybee in the top pitchers tool, and then maybe a little bit of a gap to Sonny Gray. But you can kind of get an idea of which pitchers you want to draft. Oftentimes it's not entirely in line with the ADP. So just want to say, like, highly recommend checking this out. And like I just showed you, so Luis Robert, the only bat in the early part for the White Sox. Our number 2 stack of the day is the Rockies, with an 11% chance of being the top stack. So I search for some Rockies. The highest ADP is Ryan McMahon at ADP of 8.6, another big gap. So you can pretty easily stack up the top stacks of the day. I love these drafts because I think that it's not quite figured out, not solved the same way that DFS is. So I highly recommend use our link when you sign up. You're going to get that first deposit match up to $100. Enter some of these drafts because I think that this is where you can make a lot of money. So it's a different form of DFS because it is daily drafts, but I find them to be very fun. And I would love to do a draft right now, but we're already an hour 15 into the show, so we're not going to be able to do it on the show. But just wanted to kind of show you guys what it looks like. Pretty easy to find good stacks there. All right, next up, move on to the next game. That's it. That one's coming up. Chicago at Colorado. So it's the White Sox at the Rockies. Jesse Schulten's on the mound for the White Sox. Kyle Freeland for the Rockies. What's your level of interest, EMac?
Nothing on the pitchers. No need whatsoever. You really don't need to tell us to play the bats here. So we're going to make up a little bit of ground. Jesse Schulten's came up recently. He's an okay pitcher, but a lot of that is because he's an incredibly low price. He's going into Coors Field. That is fun for exactly nobody. I just had a brain wave thought. I can't remember. Was it Freddie Peralta that debuted in Coors Field and had a 7-inning shutout or something? Anyway, I don't know where that came from. But Charlie Blackmon, Ryan McMahon, Nolan Jones, go lefties first. Those would be 3 key bats. That would probably be where I focus most of my attention. You've got Jurickson Profar, who's a switch hitter, but he has just been a disaster both in the field and at the plate this season. I think him having to play and cover so much outfield ground is messing with him a little bit, and it just kind of feels like a lost season. Ezequiel Tovar is okay, but I'd rather play him against a lefty. If we flip this over to the White Sox side, somehow Elvis Andrus is now the bane of my existence. He has been up near the top of the lineup, and that is because Tim Anderson had to serve a suspension, and now Tim Anderson is hurt or dinged up. So we'll probably see Elvis Andrus at the top of the lineup. I don't want to play him, but he's batting leadoff in Coors Field. Luis Robert and Andrew Vaughn are the guys you really want to go after. To a lesser extent, Andrew Benintendi, he can get on base in lefty-lefty matchups, and Freeland he's had troubles throughout his career against same-handed hitters. I think Trace Thompson is going to make the lineup tonight. He's bounced around, but back in our lives again, he is a super-duper discount dandy. He does have some power against lefties, but he is a pinch hit risk, and he's probably only going to get 3 at-bats at the bottom of the order anyway. So focus on Luis Robert, Andrew Vaughn, and I guess Benintendi, and then on the other side, the lefties for the Rockies with Blackmon, McMahon, and Nolan Jones. And then feel free to augment these with anybody else in this game. It's great. I think Andrus hit a home run last night, but he doesn't have a lot of power. But if he hits one in the gap or he's on base, he's going to be coming around and scoring points for your stack. That makes him appealing, makes most everybody appealing in this game against these pitchers. Plus the bullpens for both teams are pretty bad.
How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Oh, someone was saying Anderson was suspended. I'm pretty sure he did serve a suspension, but I think he's hurt now, which I think was his neck or something. To me, it sounded like it was from falling after getting clocked. Ranking this game, do not play the pitchers. Play the Colorado lefties first. Play the top half of the White Sox second, and then feel free to put anybody else in your lineups as they land in there, because it's Coors Field and it's 2 less than staunch or stalwart pitchers.
All right, so here's where we're at in the draft. Just so you know, I've got 3. I didn't get Luis Robert with the 5th pick, but I was able to get 3 of the White Sox. Sorry, the Rockies bats. So if I've got Tovar and Nolan Jones queued up, I could end up with our projected 1 through 5 on the White Sox. So you have to play 5 bats. It's going to be 2 outfielders, 2 infielders, and then 1 flex essentially of bats and 1 pitcher in these. So I got Framber Valdez. Ezequiel Tovar just went. So I'm not going to get the top 5 in our batting order for the Rockies. But that's just how easy it is. And then what I do, if I get knocked off, somebody just took Tovar, I'm just going to go ahead, look up other Rockies in the projected lineup and just go with those Rockies instead. It doesn't have to be the 1 through 5. I like 5-man stacking. But again, check it out. A lot of fun to play.
Oh, you can do 5-man stacks?
Yeah, you can't play all 6 from the same team, but you can do full 5-man stack. So even some people have figured out we should be stacking like in DFS, right? But then they do 2-3 stacks instead of just doing 1 team 5-man stack. They mix up 2 different teams, or I don't know. They mix it up more than I think you necessarily should. And I could be totally wrong. I am not that experienced at this. I've only started playing it in the past month or so, but I kind of think people are just playing it wrong by not stacking as much as they should. Just wanted to give you an update on where we're looking. And then, of course, as soon as I update, probably somebody watching the stream goes and takes Tovar from me.
And Westport, thank you for qualifying. Who am I thinking of? Not Carlos. Oh, it was not Carlos Santana. It was Josh Bell. I was thinking switch hitting first baseman. They traded Josh Bell. You're right. It was not Carlos Santana. That answer was not smooth by me. See what I did there? Smooth. Carlos Santana. Smooth.
Oh, that's funny. That was good. All right. Next game on the slate, we got Arizona at San Diego. Austin L. Adams on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Yu Darvish for the Padres. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
I think Yu Darvish definitely in contention here. He's behind Bybee, but he is in the mix there with Valdez and Gray. I was actually impressed last night with Seth Lugo. I was not expecting him to finish the 6th inning. I recommended going against him in my wager of the day in the Spotlight Pitchers Top Stacks article. He did not get there. He got 18 outs. I bet 17 and a half. I did get the home run of the day with Kyle Schwarber, though, so that made up for it. Yes to Darvish. We know we're getting at this point. He's 37. He's been in the league for a gazillion years. His strikeouts are down a little bit, but he's still okay. This is obviously a much improved Arizona lineup. When we start to look at, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, you've got Tommy Pham in the Remember Me game. You've got Christian Walker. Those are all good power bats against righties. So, wait, who is the pitcher again?
Austin L. Adams.
Oh, interesting. It's because he's not listed on ESPN, which was what I was looking at. Okay, so let's quickly Austin. How does he spell his L? Like the letter L?
Adams? Yeah, it's like a middle name. Yeah, just an initial. I would just search Austin Adams Diamondbacks Fangraphs if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
so I'm pulling up right now.
So we've got Austin Adams. Oh my God, he's 32.
That's the first thing I noticed too.
What are we doing here? Oh, he was with the Nationals for a while. All right, hat tip to that. He has a grand total of 114 innings in the majors. I had no idea who he was. He has pitched 17 innings so far this year. He pitched 2 1/3 last year. He pitched 52 in 2021, 4 in the pandemic shortened season. He was at one point the 13th ranked prospect back in 2018 for whichever team he was on at that point, which was the Nationals.
Second thing I noticed here, Mac, 60 out of 60 fastball grade, 70 out of 70 slider grade. I'm surprised he's not better.
He probably has no movement on his pitches. Let's see, Adams. So he was traded as part of Austin Nola. Oh my God, he ended up going as part of that. Oh wow, I forgot about that trade. So there's another righty reliever by the same name in the Twins organization.
That's why they call him Austin L. Adams, apparently.
That would be why. His slider is not a slow breaker, but occupies space in the middle. He does throw hard, they say. Decent command, basically no movement. So there you go. Doesn't get strikeouts.
Man,
I'm not worried about him.
Wait, doesn't get strikeouts? Are we looking at the same guy on Fangraphs? His strikeout, I mean, this year not as good, but he used to be a crazy good strikeout pitcher, if I'm reading this right.
So, no, you are correct. I'm incorrect.
Still 27% this year.
Yeah. He projects for 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. My bad. He also projects for 4.5 walks per 9 inning. Control is bad.
Yeah, San Diego, 4.7 implied run total. I don't know. What do you think? Any interest in Austin Adams? Let's see. How do we have him projected? Or I guess we should look at the top pitchers tool for Adams, because that's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I am calling. While you're doing that, I'm going to look at his. So Baseball Reference is probably the best way to get to minor league stuff for you guys that want to see different seasons and game logs. So let's see, what's his story. So he pitched for South Florida for 2 years in college. He was in the minors since 2012. He is a lifer. He has how many total minor league innings? He has appeared in 277 minor league games, 350 pitches, or 350 innings. Looking at his majors, you are correct. He has been okay with strikeouts, but control been an issue. 75 walks.
Okay, EMac, I think this is all for naught. I think that he is just an opener. We haven't projected.
Yeah, but I wanted to see who he was. These are the exciting things. I didn't know who this guy was.
Yeah, no, I didn't either, but I was going to think he was an interesting DFS play if he were an actual starter. But yeah, just looking at our projection for him and what I see available in the top pitchers tool, it would appear that we're only expecting him to open the game. So unfortunately, probably not somebody that we're wanting to play. Just going to hurt. I mean, it doesn't even really hurt the top of the order for the Padres because he's a good strikeout guy, but also, has control issues, and they do have a high implied team total. So not playing Austin Adams, clearly.
No, he's going to throw about 25 pitches. I'm going to drop his, just so you guys can see it. There's some cool stuff there on Baseball Reference. If you can get to their minor league game logs very easily, and that is one of the fastest ways to see how many pitches somebody has. And if you click on their college and minor league stuff and then click on their minor league game logs, it also includes their major leagues appearances there as well. So you can kind of get a look to see where somebody's moved up and down, etc. So like when you're looking at someone like Cole Irvin tonight, it was interesting to see that he has spent a fair amount of time in AAA, but also, he bounced around a little bit this season, etc. So that's a very good resource for you.
Okay. And somebody in chat says Austin Adams is out for the year, and I do see the little medical thing next to his name on Fantasy Cruncher. So I don't know what to make of this. I see him in Fantasy Cruncher as the pitcher, but maybe it's just a placeholder or something. All right. So we just talked a lot about Austin Adams, and he might not even be pitching on the slate. So we're not playing him, clearly. Any interest in the bats in this Arizona game?
Yes, to the Padres against whoever is going out there. I'm just looking to see. Did Brandon Pfaadt pitch yesterday?
It is. Yeah, he's correct that Adams is out he's on the 60-day injured list with a fractured right ankle. So,
so it's going to be a call up or something, because really the Arizona Diamondbacks right now really only have 4 healthy starting pitchers. So yeah, it's probably a bullpen game today.
Okay. So regardless, we're probably just not playing anybody from the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. All right. So in that case, the usual suspects for the Padres are fine. Go with their power bats. Darvish is definitely in play. He's probably the 3rd best pitcher tonight for tournaments. You can stack against him. 3 and 4 man stacks are fine. If you are doing so, focus on the first 4 in the Diamondbacks projected lineup, going with their 2 lefties and their 2 righties, and enjoy.
Brian Corrosian says that was more time devoted to that dude than he's received in his entire career combined. That is probably true. That's probably
we need to find his parents and send them this clip.
Yeah. All right.
Because you know what he's done that we haven't done, Neil? Played baseball and gotten paid for it for the last 12 years.
I mean, certainly, yeah. He's had an impressive career, even if we don't talk about him in DFS streams typically. Yeah, that's it's very impressive. Especially he had seasons with 40% strikeout rate, so did something right. Maybe some injury history there. All right, we have 3 games left to get through EMacs. We'll move along to Baltimore at Oakland. Cole Irvin, who you said is the Irvin that we are playing today on the mound for Baltimore. Ken Waldichuk for the A's. Tell me about your level of interest in these pitchers.
All right, so Cole Irvin, 5,500 on DraftKings, absolutely perfect as your SP2. Yahoo, to a lesser extent, he's 31. That's a decent price for him, but it's not as good as the 5,500. I think he threw 67 pitches in his last outing. He's gone between the bullpen and the starting duties. He's had a full week off. So my guess is they put him through a pretty rigorous side session or bullpen session, and he should be around 80 pitches tonight. He has thrown more than that earlier this season and also in the minors. And he was a starter last year. So he's fully capable of it. So stretching guys out that were former starters is not as difficult as just people that are more used to the relief aspect for things. So I think he's solid. If he was 7,000, we wouldn't really be considering him on DraftKings. He's 5,800 on FanDuel. Yes, he looked really good in his last start. 6 strikeouts, 5 scoreless innings in Seattle, 67 pitches. I don't know that he gets the quality start. I think he's going to get 5 innings tonight. Getting 6 is probably a stretch. So 5,800, we really don't need to use him on FanDuel. It doesn't do a whole lot. Excuse me.
Okay.
But that is definitely I will probably have him on 30 or 40% of my lineups, and he will be my cash game SP2 on DK.
Okay. So somebody in chat pointed out that DraftKings is Merrill Kelly, and based on Twitter buzz I'm reading, it does appear that Merrill Kelly is actually going to pitch for the Diamondbacks. Do you have any interest in Merrill Kelly against the Pods at what?
It would eliminate my interest in the Padres bats.
Okay.
And then
but still Kelly, not playing Kelly, or
if he came, I'd probably cap him at 20%, hope for no more than 10%.
Okay. So you'll play a little bit of Kelly against Diamond, obviously still.
Because you got to play two pitchers, right? So
yeah,
this is what it is.
All right. Can you rank the Baltimore Oakland game for me?
Baltimore Cole Irvin #1 on FanDuel. Baltimore offense #1. And then the Athletics are afterthoughts on both sides of it. So I looked to figure out what I really wanted to do with Ken Waldichuk. There's your guy that gets okay strikeouts, but he allows a ton of power. So sometimes they put an opener in front of him, sometimes they don't. I don't know what they're going to do with Baltimore tonight because so a lot of times when teams use openers is if they just don't want the pitcher to deal with the top 3 or 4 hitters. That would be the case against Baltimore because they have a couple switch hitters in that. So you're really not changing the handedness of them. Or you do it against a team like San Francisco where you're like, no, we're going to start a lefty. And then you immediately go to a righty and they flip all of their people plus lose all those guys as pinch hitters later in the game, right? So that's the strategy for an opener. It wouldn't shock me if they put an opener in tonight in front of him. Would not change my thoughts on the Baltimore offense. I definitely want to target them. They're like our 5th favorite though, because you've got the Coors Field and etc. So it just makes it harder to really get excited about them. But they're such a good team when they're firing on all cylinders. Now, different than Pittsburgh, the Baltimore team, they have got a lot of young talent, but they've got a fair amount of experience. And that's the big difference because most of their people, with the exception of Jordan Westberg, have been up for the better part of 2 seasons, if not longer. So they're, Adley Rutschman is basically almost a veteran at this point because he plays every day. Even Gunnar Henderson has, let's see, what does he have? How many at-bats does he have this season? He has, Gunnar Henderson has 430 at-bats this season. For his career, he has 570. So he's got more at-bats than the other 4 Pittsburgh rookies combined. Okay. These guys are more seasoned. So you definitely want to consider Rutschman, Santander, Gunnar Henderson is good in lefty-lefty matchups. Ryan Mountcastle back. He was dealing with vertigo. He missed a lot of time, but he seems to be back. He is excellent against lefties. He's adequate against righties. So even if it's a right-hander in front, they'll leave him out near the top of the order to go against him until Waldichuk comes in the game. So those would be the top 4 I'd really focus on. After that, everybody's kind of dart throws.
All right. You ready to rank the sides?
Yes. Irvin, Baltimore Orioles. Let me give you 2 Oakland hitters to counter. Irvin, you should look to, as much as I hate him, Brent Rooker, and then Zach Geloff out of nowhere. Boy, he has really been he's got the rookie steam going for him right now. Those would be the 2 I'd look to.
All right. Perfect. All right. 2 games left, EMac. We got Tampa at Los Angeles. Zach Eflin on the mound for the Rays. Patrick Sandoval for the Angels. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
So this one is, I don't think this one's going to be on FanDuel because they moved this one forward as part of the doubleheader. So I didn't look into it too much, but you definitely want to consider Eflin. Eflin's like one of the last Wait, is it Eflin or Glass now?
All right, so it's listed as Eflin in.
I think it's going to be Eflin. I think Glass now is pitching early.
Yeah, we've got Eflin. We've got Eflin in.
Okay. So Eflin Eflin and Glass now are like the last 2 pitchers standing at this point for Tampa Bay. Eflin has dramatically improved his strikeouts. Last year he was around 21%. This year he's around 25%. Tampa Bay liked what they saw with his work in Philadelphia. They brought him over. They changed his positioning where he was standing on the where his foot was on the pitching rubber, and it has been paying dividends. So he is a decent option. There are a lot of strikeouts in this Angels lineup. There is power in this Angels lineup as well, but we're looking at them. Shohei Ohtani is just awesome. Mickey Moniak is pretty good as a rookie. Hunter Renfroe, light tower power over his last 2 years against fellow righties in 740 plate appearances. He has almost a 230 ISO. If he connects, the ball goes very, very far. Connecting is the issue. This team collectively has about a 30% strikeout rate against righties, which makes Eflin rather interesting. But again, anytime you're going against Ohtani, Moniak, and hopefully Renfroe is closer in the lineup to them, but he may be down towards the bottom. It gets harder to get synergy with him as they tend to spread him out. But those would be the guys to look to. This is a partial both sideser. Eflin is number 1. The core Angels are number 2. We look to the Angels pitcher tonight. I believe it will be Patrick Sandoval.
Yep.
He's okay, but the Tampa Bay Rays have 4 amazing hitters at the top of their order against lefties. That would be Yandy Diaz, Orandi Arozarena, and Isaac Paredes. Those 3 are in the top 30 for on-base percentage as well in the league. They are an amazing stacking option. Jose Siri was a late scratch last night, if I remember correctly, but he has outstanding power. If he's in the lineup batting near those guys, you can include him because he'll be the one knocking those guys in when they're on base. If he's out, then slot in Harold Ramirez instead. The challenge is the bottom half of their lineup is pretty sketch, even against Patrick Sandoval. That makes it harder to really like stacking them because you need that back of the lineup to not get outs.
Yeah. They
don't have to get hits. They just need to get on base. But if it's 3 up, 3 down, it screws your stack. And that's the hardest thing with these imbalanced lineups. But ranking them, we'll go Tampa Bay pitcher. I'd still put the Angels, the core Angels above them, and then Tampa Bay offense. I won't cross out Sandoval, but I wouldn't play him.
Okay, so if you're hand building, not playing Sandoval. If he makes it in your set in Fantasy Cruncher, then
3 to 5%. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. If someone like that, if they start coming in 10 or 12% for whatever reason, I will cap them at 5 because they must be there for a point per dollar reason. But if they go way more wild than that, just get them the hell out of there.
All right, perfect. EMac, I've been doing back-to-back streams. I've been on air for about 2.5 hours now. I've done 11 NFL games, 14 MLB games, 15th and final game coming up here. We're going to close it out with Miami at Los Angeles. Braxton Garrett on the mound for the Marlins. Julio Urias for the Dodgers. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
So this game is also not on FanDuel because this was another one of the doubleheaders that moved over. So Urias is probably the 4th best pitcher on DraftKings. Miami is a pesky lineup. Their projected lineup has about a 19% strikeout rate against lefties over the last 2 seasons. That can be challenging because Urias is okay with strikeouts, but he really takes what he gets. If he goes against a team that does not give a lot of strikeouts, then he is not going to get a lot of strikeouts. It's just the way it works out. That makes it tougher to trust him. You've got Braxton Garrett on the other side. I really don't want to take him against the Dodgers, but that also means the Dodgers probably aren't going to, automatically roll up 5 runs in the first 6 innings and hand Urias the chance at a victory. So the offenses in both games, if they come into my lineups, I'm fine. I don't want to actively go against Braxton Garrett. Garrett, I'd probably cap at 5 to 10%. Urias, I'll probably cap at 20 to 25% and go from there. So I'm leaning a little bit more on the pitchers, a little bit less on the hitters. Dodgers still are going to be ranked higher than the Miami Marlins.
Okay.
For hitting.
How would you anything else to say about the bats in this game? Are you ready to rank the 4 sides?
Yep. So Urias, Garrett, Dodgers, righties, and then I don't want to play the Marlins, but let's give you a home run call. A long shot home run call for the Marlins would be Jake Berger.
Jake Berger. Okay.
Final answer.
I mean, we're going to do a home run call for the entire slate, too. Are you taking Jake Berger for the entire slate or just for the Marlins?
Okay, just for the Marlins.
All right. EMac, can you say Silseth sells seashells?
Silseth sells seashells by the seashore along with Sally.
You've done this
for
before.
Their S corporation.
EMac actually does this before every show. He recites these things. He does all the, like actors do the. Yeah. EMac does that before every show. It's really obnoxious. We have to, and he wants to be there for it too. So we actually get into StreamYard half an hour before the show typically because EMac just wants me there while he's doing all of his mouth exercises. It's takes a long time. All right. So we made it through the entire slate. EMac, 3 favorite pitchers on this main slate.
Oh, well, Cole Irvin is number 3, and that's a price play on DK. Lesser extent on 31 on Yahoo. I will be playing Yahoo tonight, but I will make my one lineup. I don't know that he'll be in it. Number 1 is going to be Tanner Bybee. And then from there, you've got some options, right? We talked a little bit about Framber Valdez on Yahoo or on DK. You can put in Julio Urias there. It's sort of where is your salary going to take you? Because Bybee's going to be very popular because he is at a decent price. Then we got the Coors Field game, so it's harder to start putting the dollars behind a Framber Valdez, a Logan Gilbert, etc. So that middle option, this isn't a cop out. This is one of those. This is why we play 150 lineups, guys. Because I like 2, and then 2 the top and the bottom guy, and then I like 6 across the middle, and I will probably be stacking against 4 of those 6. So it's hard to give an enthusiastic endorsement there.
All right, 3 favorite stacks. Any enthusiastic endorsements?
So Colorado, you guys don't need me to tell you about that one.
You mean both teams in Colorado or just the Rockies?
No, both.
Okay, Rockies and White Sox.
Twins are probably the non-Coors Field is the Twins number 1 and the Giants number 2. But again, we're playing 3-man. And we're trying to get only one of Wade or Jock Peterson because they will be pinch hit for.
Okay. Let's do a home run pick.
From the early slate, it is going to be Kyle Schwarber.
Did we not do that already for the home run for the early slate?
I can't remember if we did or not.
Okay, I thought
for the main slate. Gosh, there are just so many choices here. You know what? Let's go with Anthony Santander. Oh, but that game's not on FanDuel. So Anthony Santander, and then the game that is on FanDuel, let's go. You know what? Just for you, Max Kepler.
Oh, love it. All right. People reminding us, you took Kyle Schwarber. I took Aaron Judge for the early slate.
Oh, that's right.
Nice, Evan.
This was like days ago. Days ago. This is the marathon show. This is what it's better when there's small slates and we don't have to.
Yeah. And I don't have a show on the back end of this, so we can just go as long as we want. All right. I will go with, so I can't do anybody from Colorado or the White Sox. Doesn't even matter to me because I actually prefer Jorge Soler, top of our home run model, 31% chance of hitting a home run here. Love it. Love that I can take Jorge Soler ahead of any of those Colorado bats.
And who is Jorge Soler playing for?
He's playing for the Marlins.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to check. I wanted to see if that was part of your model as well.
Oh, you didn't think that I'd know who Jorge. There are probably some players who you could get me with, but like if they're on the same team they've been on all year at this point, I know where the players play.
Hey, you know who got me today? Carlos Santana. It's really Josh Bell.
Yeah. All right, EMac. Any final thoughts for the people?
I'm good. This was fun. Thank you.
This was fun. I could have done a lineup generator read here. I didn't do it because we went so long. But guys, I'm going to be doing on Twitter. I'm going to be doing a review of our lineup generator for the main set. We'll put out a video probably within the hour. I think I'll probably do it pretty soon here. It might be after lunch, I'm not sure, but within the next 2 hours at least, I'll be coming out with a lineup generator video where I take a look at the lineups that we are generating on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Check it out if you are interested in seeing what the lineup generator likes. And if you haven't signed up for lineup generator, you can use our link. It's in the description of this video. $4.48 for your first week. It really is a fantastic tool. Only gives you plus EV lineups. But that is going to do it for the show. If you have not hit the like button, please give us a like for this marathon of a show. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and good luck today.